Lather,
Here.
and President LaHue.
Here. And then we also have, besides Director Christensen, we also have Josh Nelson, our legal counsel, and eventually Sierra Ryan from the county will be joining us.
President LaHue, can we also just take a moment to introduce Sophia Schultz?
Yeah, go for it.
Sophia is day one of working with the district. She will be assisting us while Emma is on maternity. So we wanted to give an opportunity to introduce her to the board and then for her to say a few words.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophia Schultz. I am currently a board clerk and administrative aide to the Santa Cruz Mid-County Groundwater Agency, and I'm excited to be working with you while Emma's on leave.
All right.
All right.
Well, welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to have you.
Welcome.
And let's see. Next on the agenda will be if anyone has any agenda adjustments. I don't have any for the order of things, but if anyone needs anything pulled from the consent agenda or such. No.
Yeah,
Go on.
Carla?
Bruce.
go ahead, Carla.
No, go ahead. I don't have the number quite yet, but I know what I
Yeah.
want. Yeah. Go on. And I'll go
Okay.
second.
I wanted to, I'm looking at the number as well. Let's see. Yeah, I've got them in front of me. Is it 4 point? No, it's not 4.2.
What's the topic?
4
The
point,
topic is health insurance,
that would be 4.4.
4.4. I'd like to pull that.
Okay. Carla?
Oh, I was just had a comment on 4.5, actually.
She can do a comment during it or she can pull it.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and make your comment at the beginning before we consider the whole consent agenda, and then I'll make
Okay.
opportunity for public comment, although I don't see any likely suspects. So go ahead. Carla.
Okay. I just want to say that when I read the 4.5, about the board, it has been revised, and I like the revision. But I wanted to add, each department had a report and it was very concise. But I'd like to propose that, I don't know if this is possible, to add another title to the special board assignments report, and that is for the Pure Water Soquel project, so that we can keep up to date without ever, we don't have to discuss it every time, but it'd be nice to have a visual on some of that. I can see things are happening and things have happened, and it'd be nice to have it included in the special board assignments report if possible. And so I'd like to agendize that, but we can discuss that later, but I'd like to see that happen.
Yeah, and maybe we could just agendize where to put that, because it might be better on a different report rather than that.
Or people are welcome to comment on that, but I'd like to see a regular,
Yeah, just a discussion of,
summary, just a regular summary, I guess, is what we are doing here every meeting.
okay.
And is it too late for an adjustment if I don't want to we normally do the pulled items at the end of the meeting. But I don't know if David didn't need to be here, whether we could move it up forward. It's a pretty simple matter.
Are you planning to be here for the whole meeting anyway?
Okay.
I think it'll be fine. Because I think there's some closed session items he's going to.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments on the consent agenda?
I'll
We're
move.
pulling a 4.4 and then there's no public comment. I have a couple of comments before we vote, sorry. One is I just wanted to say, even though it costs a little more, I think it's great that got some electric vehicles. they can actually act as a source of energy if you need them in a power outage too. And then maybe sometime if we're getting more of an electric fleet, we ought to consider solar photovoltaics on the district office. Just something for the future. But it's kind of getting that time. And then I was going to also request under the special board assignments report, there was a mention of the annual report being given at the MGA meeting. And I just wanted to ask that we get that update here as well. Okay, sorry, that was it.
I can move approval.
I'll-
Is that for everything else? I mean,
Oh.
4.5.
4.4.
4.4.
I second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded for all items except for 4.4 on the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Director Balboni,
Aye.
Vice President Christensen,
Aye.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Lather,
Yes.
and President Leahy.
Aye. Okay, so now we will go to reports. And I'm looking to see if there's any public comment on reports. This would be the time. Okay, so then we will go to district, seeing none, we'll proceed to district council report.
Thanks, President Leahy. So my update this evening is just a housekeeping reminder. So Miss Western recently sent you a copy of the Brown Act. You'll remember this is actually a requirement of SB 707, which took effect January 1st and made some changes to the Brown Act. In part, this included mandating that we provide a copy of the Brown Act to all directors, and so that's why that was sent over. If you have any questions after reviewing it, let me know. I also recognize it's a little dense. And so if there's any resources that I can point you to or any questions I can ask, please reach out. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Question?
actually had a question, Josh. It seems like remote attendance has changed with this version of the Brown Act. Am I correct?
Yes. So there were two changes to remote attendance. The first was more substantial changes which apply to what are called local agencies with eligible legislative bodies. That doesn't apply to us. What did apply to all local agencies, it does apply to us, was some streamlining of the procedures for private remote attendance. So the board will remember, when we have a director appearing from a location on the agenda, like Director Christensen is tonight, that's a traditional teleconference meeting, and that remote location is treated just like the public meeting location in Capitola for public comment and other things. In addition, and something that's sort of a holdover from the COVID pandemic, is the ability for directors to call in from a private remote meeting location. The previous law permitted that in two instances, just cause or in an emergency. And there were specifications as to what qualified as an emergency or just cause, and there were also limits on the number of times directors could use those. It was always a little challenging to say, oh, is this an emergency or does it fit within just cause? Just cause required notice, and emergency required approval. It was a little bit cumbersome. So SB 707, to your point, streamlines that. And now there is just, to qualify for private remote meeting attendance, it has to be for just cause. Emergency has been added as an example of just cause. There are a couple of others that have been added. Military service is one that comes to mind. And there still remains limitations on the number of times per year that directors can utilize that. And my recollection is that based on the number of times we meet a month, it's 2 per year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And let's see. Now we have a nice new report from Administration and Business Services. I wanted to compliment whoever put that together, and also wanted to somebody let Becca know. I thought the water wisdom column was good too.
Thank you. Emma put the template together, and Finance and Business and Administration Department were the first to come out with this new layout. We do have some modifications. We did print and I think leave on everybody's spot just a modification to one of the tables. There was a table in there called customer service that has some data that was actually accidentally pulled that has fiscal year to date. And so at this time, we're going to be modifying that for the next version, but we want to just make sure that we correct it for the record, that the table that and the information that has been gathered thus far has been superseded and replaced by this information. And I think the way that we are also structuring this is that there really wouldn't be any formal going through it unless there were questions. So,
Questions, anybody? Okay. Next report is the finance status report. Is that also questions only, or?
yeah.
Okay. And then, any questions on the production report, or we're good with that? Okay. All right, well then, we shall move on to business items. Item 6.1 is to approve a conditional will serve letter for a 10-unit apartment development with commercial space on 41st Avenue. And I think, Taj, you've got this one.
Yes, good evening. This site was previously looked at by the board for a hotel, but now the owner or the applicant is looking to change the development to 10 apartments, 5 one-bedroom apartments and 5 two-bedroom apartments, and then on the ground floor, about 700 square feet of commercial space. And so this is brought back to you because of the size of the project. And I'm going to remind you that we don't have the water demand offset program anymore. But as of now, the applicant has been informed that each apartment would be individually metered. And so it's currently not identified as a low-income project. So that is one of the requirements that we have in place. And there's no real infrastructure. There's a water main in 41st Avenue, so there'll be a fire service and some meter services.
Thanks, Taj. Any public comment on this item? All right. Seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing part of this. And then any questions from the board or motions or?
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Director Balboni,
Yes.
Vice President Christensen,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Lather,
Yes.
and President Leahy.
Aye. All right, thank you. All right, so the next item is informational. It's a Santa Cruz County Water Resources Management Status Report for 2025. And somewhere in this Zoom world, we've got Sierra.
I'll just go ahead and introduce Sierra Ryan. She's the Water Resources Manager at Santa Cruz County, and it's an honor to have her tonight to be available to the Board of Directors as well as those that are in attendance tonight to get a presentation on the 2025 annual report for water resources in Santa Cruz County. This is a report that I hope Sierra can share how many years the county has been able to put this together. It's quite an endeavor. It's a compilation of multiple agencies submitting information and then putting it into a very concise report. We enjoy working on it and providing information as well as reading about it to others. We just talked a little bit about it today in one of our meetings and thumbed through it, and the department heads were like, oh, I need to go in and read that more. So a lot of it is just about socializing the report, getting it out there so that people can use it as a resource of information. Sierra's also, I hope, Sierra, you'll be touching on the GIS well update. It's a project that the county took on, and it's quite impressive in terms of the level of effort and I think bringing it into more of a modernized state. So welcome, Sierra. I will queue up your slides.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today. It's really a pleasure to be here to share the work that I've compiled over the last year. So this is a report, as Melanie said, we've been doing this a long time. We've actually been doing this since 2004. When the Water Resources Program at the county was first kind of consolidated under environmental health. For this report, we spoke with my program, the Water Resources Program, and 4 other programs at the county, as well as 10 outside agencies and organizations to pull it all together. I think it gives a really comprehensive view of what's been happening countywide, not just for what the county does, but I think really gives everyone a good sense of what's happening regionally when it comes to water. And it is really impressive. This has been every year, it blows people's mind to see what so many organizations such as yourselves are working on. And this presentation just really scratches the surface. That I believe the whole report is in the packet, and it's also on the county's website. So I really encourage everybody to take a look at it and kind of see all of the detail and all of the work that goes into this. I think we're ready for the next slide. All right, so this is a slide all of you are familiar with, but just for the general audience who might not be as familiar with water in Santa Cruz County, it's really important to understand that all of the water in the county originates as rainfall within the county, which is very rare in California, in a state with the most ambitious water projects in the world, really. So people use local surface water and local groundwater. It all originated as rainfall. With the exception of what are currently a few recycled water projects for irrigation in Scotts Valley and in Pajaro Valley. That's obviously going to be changing really dramatically this next year when Pure Water Soquel comes into the water portfolio in a way that we haven't seen yet. So we're going to need a new map at that point, I think. All right, next slide. So obviously, because we aren't connected to any state water projects, we are really responsible. We have the responsibility of managing all of our water the best we can, because no one's really going to save us if something goes wrong. There's really no outside sources. So we like to track water use and water source every year and see how it's changing over time. And right now, as you can see, countywide, about half the water used is agricultural, and that spans PV water as well as estimates for the Mid-County and the North Coast regions where we have a good amount of ag production. And then the rest is domestic and commercial, either through municipal providers like yourselves or through domestic or state small systems. The water source for this last year, so this is just using the 2025 data that was collected, you can see it was almost 80% groundwater. That is a little higher than we see in kind of a more average year. However, we actually had pretty low rainfall last year. It was only about 60% of average for the county. And so that usually results in a greater groundwater usage for that year. Despite the low rainfall, though, we did see stream flow staying around normal. And we kind of think that's due to the temperatures being a lot lower than they could have been. And so we didn't have really high evapotranspiration, particularly in June and July when you have really long days. So, nothing scary to report for last year. Also, good news, this was the first year, and I'm sure you've heard this as well, the first time in 25 years that the drought monitor was saying that no part of California is in a drought. So that was definitely something to celebrate. All right, next slide. So this is information you can find on our website. The Water Resources Program samples roughly 100 surface water sites located in streams, rivers, lakes, and beaches throughout the county at a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis, depending on which mandates and public health advisories and other logistical constraints are at play. Over 1,000 grab samples were collected in 2025 as part of these routine monitoring efforts. And as you can see here on the map, you can see where all these sites are located. The coastal sites are monitored for fecal indicator bacteria, and that's in accordance to the California Beach Water Quality Program. Freshwater sites are also monitored for fecal indicator bacteria, along with other chemical and physical parameters such as nitrate, orthophosphate, sediment. For a number of programs, some total maximum daily load requirements, some are septic system monitoring program. And this year we actually added the ability to measure chlorophyll A to our capacity at our water quality lab, which helps us understand the harmful algal bloom dynamics. It's a big concern of ours in parts of South County, particularly Pinto Lake, but we do see these blooms in other parts of the county as well. We've also expanded our PCR, digital PCR, which can identify the sourcing of DNA in water by distinguishing between different indicators, bacteria between humans, dogs, cows, and seagulls. And this is really an important step at identifying and controlling pathogens that might be entering our waterways. Next slide. So two of our big priorities in this coming year are improving the water quality monitoring signage and really addressing some of our harmful algal blooms. So these are the new signs. You're going to start seeing these at all of our sampling, our most common sampling locations along the beaches. And there's a QR code on there. It'll take you right to the water quality map that you saw on the last page. So you have access to the most recent data collected at the sites. And they'll be posted at 28 different locations around the county. Next slide. Going to move on now to the work that we do with partners, including Soquel Creek Water District, and a consulting fisheries biologist to perform juvenile steelhead and habitat monitoring throughout the county. We've been doing this for over 20 years, and the annual monitoring program measures both the density of juvenile steelhead at monitoring sites in various creeks and lagoons, and also the sizes of the juveniles, which tells us their age class and also their likelihood of survival. So in 2025, we saw steelhead spawning at all of our sampling locations. That's roughly 39 sites and 2 lagoons. So that's good news, although we did see fairly low density numbers. We think that's partly because 2025 had fewer storm events that are necessary to support adult spawning, and also had somewhat below average base flows, at least kind of lower than average base flows. We also learned that some of our partners who are sampling sites up in the North Coast streams still feel that there hasn't been full recovery from the CZU fire and the 2023 storm events that were sort of a double whammy for those sites up on the North Coast. Next slide.
Sierra, before you move on, the bigger dot better?
Bigger dots are better, yes.
Okay.
And you can actually, if you go to this website, you can see these, you can see the data collected for every year since over the last 20 years and see how it changes. And you can kind of think about which were wet years, which were dry years, when we had disasters, and how that impacts fisheries numbers. The most recent data, the data that was collected in 2025, is not posted yet to the website because it's still being finalized.
Thank you.
All right, so this picture here, this is how the fish are counted. So this is through electrofishing, where the fish are stunned and then caught in nets, put in baskets, and then they're counted and measured. One thing I don't have any photos of, but I also want to mention, in some of our other fisheries management programs, we're continuing to operate the Streamwood program, which is a program that the county does where when large trees fall into creeks, that happens a lot during big storm years, on private property, when there's no county infrastructure that's at risk. Our program will come in and evaluate the wood with the goal of trying to leave it in place for fish habitat if it can be done so safely. But if not, we will have an engineer or a geomorphologist review the wood, make recommendations for how it should be modified, and then we have permits in place that the landowner can take advantage of when having a tree crew do the work. And actually, we have a grant right now that allows us to pay for the work to be done as well. So that's a pretty exciting program. We've been operating since 2009 as another effort to kind of keep our fisheries numbers up. All right, next slide. So this is the program that Melanie was alluding to earlier. And I'm going to do my very best to explain it, although I am not the person who did this work. I got very lucky and was able to hire a couple years ago a person who's both a professional geologist, studied earth sciences at UCSC, and also studied computer sciences. And he has been a real asset. So this is what our old well layer looked like. So if you ever went on the county's GIS website and you wanted to click on wells, this is what you see. As you can see, that green icon indicates other type of well, unknown class. And so basically there's no information available. A good chunk of these are actually just monitoring wells associated with things like gas stations. And so it was really not a particularly useful site for the kind of management assistance that we wanted it to help us provide. So given that 78-79% of the water used in the county last year came from groundwater, we really think it's critical to continue to support groundwater management in any way the county can. And so we got grant funding to do a project to overhaul our well database. So before this started, as you can see, there's very little information. We trained AI-powered optical character recognition using Azure OCR was the software on the well log templates that have been required at the time of well construction since the 1940s. And I know you're all familiar with what these well logs look like. There were about 14 templates that the state has used going back that far. The training took the staff only about a week, after which the software processed our inventory of over 17,000 scanned PDFs of well logs, many of which were handwritten, in under a day. And then the cleanup started, and staff used scripts to clean and standardize the values, detect mistakes, match sites, enrich the existing database, find missing records, and resolve duplicates. And when we completed the GIS integration, it placed the wells in the most accurate location possible and then provided confidence scores. So if you're familiar with DWR's database of the well logs, they're all centered on the PLSS grid. So they're not really geo-rectified to the actual location. And we were able to improve that with the data that we had collected and actual locations of many of the wells. And if we couldn't find the actual location, we could rectify it to the centroid of the individual parcel that it occurred on rather than the bigger grid squares. Next slide. Other way. All right, there we go. So now this is how our well GIS, our well layer on the GIS appears. So as you can see, far higher accuracy in terms of the locations. There's a lot more fields of data. I don't have the attribute tables in this presentation, but this is all publicly available, and I highly recommend you go kind of look. A project like this would have taken thousands of hours to do manually. And there's a lot of room for human error in a situation like this. And we think that this is just really scratching the surface of the way that this technology can be used to help with groundwater and water management generally. We have talked to the state about having them, because we trained all the well logs, and the well logs are universal for the state. And then we did a bunch of cleanup with coding that we have. So we've been talking to the Department of Water Resources about how we can share this with other counties. And there's definitely quite a bit of interest in this. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to answer questions particularly well about this, but if you have questions at the end, I'll be happy to try. And then this is one more map. Next slide, please. This is the last map I want to show, and this is just kind of showing that the county does continue to participate in groundwater management through the groundwater sustainability agencies, working very closely with you and your staff, particularly in the Mid-County area. So I just think it's important to kind of show where we have the additional layer of this groundwater management piece. All right, next slide. So this is one of the more interesting slides that I like to share every year. So this is now moving a little beyond just the county's programs that I was speaking about before. So one thing that we do as part of this report is we compile water use data from the 6 large utilities in the county, including Soquel Creek, which together serve roughly 240,000 people. So the green line here is representing connections or households. So it's roughly showing growth of population, although connections may be a single family home or it might be a multifamily complex. But you can see generally that going back to 1984, there's been sort of a steady increase in the number of connections that people report, that the agencies report. It's added up to be about a 30% increase since 1984. So the blue line is the total amount of water produced by the agencies, and then the red bars are rainfall. As you can see, until around 2000, water use was increasing broadly with population and correlated fairly well to rainfall amounts. After that, as more efficient plumbing standards started taking hold and water use began declining, the biggest decline came after the mandatory restrictions during the 2012 through 2015 drought, as you can see. And many of those conservation actions that were installed were permanent rather than behavioral. So tearing out a lawn and replacing your washing machines rather than just trying to take short showers during the drought. The water agencies provided many rebates, as you know, and the community responded really strongly. One thing that's particularly interesting, I think, is that we never saw any sort of real significant rebound, like barely a blip of a rebound to the pre-drought levels. And the last 3 years, have used even less water than 2015 when those mandatory restrictions were still in place. And that's what those orange circled icons, the circles are there, is to show the current last 3 years of water use compared to 2015. The last thing I want to draw your attention to is the rainfall. So overall rainfall trend line is going down ever so slightly, but I think the bigger picture here is just looking at these increasing extremes between the wet and dry years. As I mentioned, the county relies entirely on water that originates as local rainfall, at least for the time being. And not knowing if we're going to get 22 inches or 50 inches or 92 inches of rain in any given year has just huge implications for planning. Which gets me to the final part of the presentation where I'm going to start talking about the work being done for water supply security. So next slide. So the water supply situation this year is actually pretty good holistically. It was a somewhat dry year last year, but Loch Lomond has been spilling, and the groundwater elevations that we've seen are relatively stable. In some places, they're increasing, in some places decreasing slightly, but really we're not seeing dramatic or regular declines. We know that this is not always going to be the case. There are many stressors on our water systems, and climate change is the biggest of these. So the supplies that have provided enough water for the communities in the past may not do so into the future without additional help, which is why the water agencies, such as yourselves, are always looking at how to expand water supply security. So I'm not going to read this list. You're familiar with all these techniques, I'm sure. Next slide. All right, so first I'm going to talk about some projects you'll probably recognize. The College Lake project was developed by the Pajaro Valley Water Management Agency, and it includes components to store, treat, and deliver surface water from College Lake to use as irrigation supply in lieu of pumped groundwater. An anticipated annual average of 2,300 acre feet will be collected, which is around the same amount of water as all of the domestic wells in the county use put together. And the ribbon cutting for this took place in 2025. There's some pictures that I took when I was there. The Watsonville Slough Managed Aquifer Recharge and Recovery Project, which is also being planned by PV Water, includes project components to divert, convey, and store and recover surface water for use in irrigation supply, again, in lieu of pumping groundwater. It could yield up to 2,200 acre feet a year, and construction is anticipated to start in 2027 for that, but they are actively advancing the planning and design stages right now. And then again, Pure Water Soquel, I obviously want to call out the great work that your staff and yourselves have been doing in this, taking leadership in this area. There's some photos here of the facility and the conveyance. So as you know, the project is using the treated wastewater from the Santa Cruz wastewater treatment facility, and should be producing up to 1,500 acre feet a year as currently designed. Next slide. So the City of Santa Cruz is advancing their Climate Resilient Santa Cruz initiative to improve the reliable delivery of water to its customers. 3 existing wells are being converted to allow for aquifer storage and recovery, which takes treated surface water and injects it into the ground to be recovered at a later date when surface water supplies are more limited. They expect these sites will produce just under 900 acre feet a year. The city is also replacing the pipeline that brings water from Loch Lomond Reservoir to their treatment plant on Graham Hill, and they expect to complete that replacement over the next upcoming year. So combined, all these projects that I was talking about have the capacity to produce around 7,000 acre feet a year, which is about 75% of the capacity of Loch Lomond. That's how I kind of describe the scale at which these projects are bringing resilience to the region, but they can do that every year. And in a good year, in good rain years, several of them can produce potentially even more. So it's really a big change, biggest changes that we've seen since the 1960s in terms of water supply. And then the last photo here is the exciting project. It's the intertie between City of Santa Cruz Water Department and Scotts Valley Water District. It's that one. Yeah, sorry, it's that one right there. I forgot to tell you, next slide. So this intertie includes a pipeline and pump station, which will allow for water transfers and exchanges between the 2 water systems for the first time. This was a grant from DWR, and the capacity of the infrastructure as it is designed right now is 1 million gallons a day. So it's basically enough to provide the city of Scotts Valley with a lot of the water that they need. All right, and then that sort of concludes my presentation. It was a really brief overview of everything that's in the report, but I'm definitely here and happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Sierra. Yeah, the report is very thorough and detailed, and thank you for giving us the highlights. Prior to any board questions, we'll see if there's any public comment on this item. Becky?
Thank you, Becky Steinbrunner. Thank you, Ms. Ryan, for this report. And I was really happy to see that the County Board of Supervisors gave you a place on the regular agenda. Last month, it usually gets hidden in the consent agenda, and your fine work really merits showcasing at the Board of Supervisors meeting, and I'm glad that it's presented here as well. The GIS project work really is astonishing. I attend the Santa Cruz County Water Advisory Commission meetings, and the fellow who did this work gave the presentation, and it was astonishing. And I'm really hopeful that his good work can also help other counties, because it's a common issue. So the other thing that I wanted to point out in the use of water is, you mentioned that in the last 3 years it's been less than 2015. There's been no resurgence of use, but I also think that in the graph, it shows that use has been, even though the number of connections has been increasing, the use is lower than when records first began to be kept in 1984. And I really think that merits, first correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that really merits highlighting. And again, I want to thank you for your excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I agree that that is correct, that it's decreased that much even with increasing population. So,
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
any board questions, comments? Okay. Well, thank you very much, Sierra. Appreciate all your work.
Yeah, thank you,
Well,
Sarah.
thank you. It was a pleasure to be here. And as always, it's such a pleasure to work with you and your staff on this. So you'll hear again from me next year.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. So the next item is to approve plans and specs for hexachromium treatment and well infrastructure improvements. And Taj, you going to introduce that?
I will. Thank you. I will also want to recognize Bryce Dahlmeyer's effort on this project. He is our project manager lead. He's our associate engineer, and he will be following this project through completion. But for now, we're just asking the board to approve the plans and specifications and call for bids. A lot of work has been done over the years, over the decade. And so we're, picking up where we left off. This project is going to be located at the Bonita well site, which is off of Bonita Drive near Zanzibar Drive in Aptos. And
Emma, can you help me? I'm stuck on this.
I can keep talking until you bring that up. And it will remove or reduce hexavalent chromium to below the state's set maximum contaminant level of 10 parts per billion for 3 of the district's wells, the Bonita well, the San Andreas well, and the Seascape well. As I said, a lot of work has been done already, and some of that work involves coastal development permit. We've secured the coastal development permit. We've finished CEQA. We've installed raw transmission mains between the other 2 sites to bring the raw groundwater over to Bonita. And of course, design work has been underway. This project that you are considering tonight is a little different than what we looked at a long time ago. The treatment technology is different. It used, previously we worked with strong-based anion exchange, and this technology is reduction, coagulation, and filtration, which is going to use ferrous chloride to reduce chrome 6 to chrome 3 and then filter it out. It's very similar in the process that our staff is used to with removing of iron and manganese at our Purisma wells. So that is one added benefit. The state gave water systems of our size until October of 2026 to be in compliance, and we will not meet that deadline, but we do have a compliance plan in place, and that plan has been approved by the Division of Drinking Water, and they understand that these projects don't just appear out of the thin air. And so with our schedule, we are meeting our compliance plan with this being considered for adoption of plans and specs tonight. These 3 wells, in the past have produced almost a third of the district's demand. And the levels of chrome 6 in these wells range in the high teens. And so we'll shoot to reduce it to below the state's level limit. With the schedule, we're shooting to open bids in April and then bring it to the board and hope to get started in May or June of this year. The project involves a treatment building. So a lot of the treatment filters and electrical equipment will be housed inside of a CMU block building. There will be a subsurface backwash tank that is, we've built those before at the 3 SWIP recharge wells, the pure water recharge wells. We have those. And there's also some forced sewer mains that will go up to the Zanzibar sewer collection system for the county, where we will discharge the backwash. We do have to upgrade a few of the 3 of the sewers lift station, Sioux County's lift stations in that neighborhood due to the volume of backwash that we will be adding to their system. The project does include an emergency backup generator and also some changes to the pumping equipment at San Andreas Well. The project is estimated at about $17.5 million. We'll see how the market, competitive market, helps us. We've reached out to a lot of contractors, letting them know that this is coming, and so we anticipate hopefully a good turnout. There are 2 motions for you to consider. One of the motions also designates this project as substantially complex, and that allows us to withhold 10% of retention to make sure the project gets completed according to plans and specs. There are some renderings in the board memo attachments showing what we anticipate the site to look like. The existing Bonita well will be converted from an above-ground turbine-style motor to a submersible, and so that will minimize the noise, and the building will be removed. You can see from the rendering, it's just a well pedestal with some discharge piping. Inside the building, this is a preliminary rendering of just the filter vessels and piping. There are a few select sheets for the construction plans. The entire set is pretty enormous, so if you're interested, you can go to our website later this week and grab those. There is also a landscaping plan at Bonita site. We do neighbor some residences, so there's a landscape plan for that as well. Initially, in the prior project, we had the necessity to design a bridge that would cross over the ditch there, and that's not needed anymore, so that's been removed. But it still allows, for trucks to turn around inside the site. There's a, stormwater retention, detention design. This site has been identified for long-toed salamanders, so part of the mitigation for the CEQA will be to make sure those creatures are protected. I think that gets us through the majority of the memo. I'm open for questions if you have any.
We'll take public comment first before questions, but I just wanted to clarify. I think you said bids would open in April, but don't you mean open now and then close in April?
That's what I meant. Bid opening. We will open the sealed bids.
Oh, you will open?
Yes.
Oh, I got it.
And then
Open the envelope,
We'll open the envelopes.
Okay. Okay,
on
I
April
understand
1st.
that.
Yes.
And then I wasn't sure what a CMU is.
Concrete masonry unit.
Thank you.
It's just a concrete
Okay.
block.
All right. Now it's time for public comment. Masonry unit.
Thank you, Becky Steinbrenner. I had a question about that acronym too. Thank you. I'm happy to see this project moving along. I wonder with the backwash now going into the sewer system, it would become part of the source water for the Pure Water Soquel project. So I'm wondering if this needs to be treated as a new potential contaminant source that, as would any new industrial facility that could be putting things that you had not intended or not known initially in the Pure Water Soquel project wastewater stream analysis. And also, does this project require the National Pollutant Discharge permit that I'm sure you have, but just a question if that is required for this project. Thank you. Oh, and gallons per day or whatever, what is the production expected of this, and how much of the discharge, backwash discharge, would be produced and put into the sewer system? Thank you.
Thank you. Any board questions?
Taj, is this is like the coagulation that's done for arsenic, where
Yes.
you create an inert substance.
Correct.
It's no longer a pollutant or a contaminant.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's the only question.
That
Thanks.
helps clarify.
Yeah.
Okay, no other questions? Okay, there's a couple motions on the floor. Possible?
I'll make both motions.
All right. Roll call, please.
Director Balboni,
Aye.
Vice President Christensen,
Aye.
Director Jaffe,
Aye.
Director Lather, and President Leahy.
Aye. Okay, so now we're going to move on to item, let's see, what is it, 6.4? Yeah. So to review and improve updated district policies. We're on a roll here. Emma, are you doing this one?
I am,
Right.
yeah. So this item is presented for the board to review and consider adopting updates to two existing policies, the website privacy policy and the district social media policy. And then there's one policy we recommend be sunset, and that is the employee recognition policy. That being said, the employee recognition policy is just outdated, and the district plans to update a different sort of employee recognition program in the future. The main changes to the website privacy policy and social media is just ensuring that we're legally compliant, best practice, and also reflects updated technology. So if you have any questions, I'm open to answering them. Thanks.
Is there any public comment on this item? Okay. Board questions? Seems like, yeah, go for it, Bruce.
Yeah. Let me find where I marked it. It was on the on page 201, which is page 204 for policy 200-02, the privacy policy. And it talks about how the district uses the information collected. And there was a bullet point: research, develop, and market new products and services. Is that something that we do, or is that just kind of a catch-all that we're including?
Yeah, I can answer that. That was language that BBK actually proposed when we were going through this to be overarching rather than sort of hindering what we do. And it was something that I had flagged because it stood out to me as something we don't do. And then after sort of pondering it for a while, it seemed like something that could maybe be a catch-all if there was a rebate that we wanted to advertise and have some sort of kind of pop up to customers or something on our website.
Leak detection or something.
Right, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions? All right, so
Does this mean we're not getting pins?
Yeah,
I hadn't seen the name
yeah,
of Johnson
yeah.
in a while.
An
1985.
old policy.
1985.
Yeah.
Robert
Okay, so
Johnson.
there's a motion to adopt the two updated policies and sunset the other. There's two motions, I guess. Motions 1 and 2. I'll move approval. Can someone second it?
I'll second it.
I'll
Okay,
second
great.
it.
Oh, wait, Carla hasn't seconded anything yet.
Okay, there
I
you go.
know. I don't know. I never know if I'm heard. So I just,
Yeah, I know. It's tough when
listening
you're
a lot.
remote attendee. Yeah.
I appreciate the updating and streamlining the policy, so thank you. And roll call, please.
Director Balboni,
Yes.
Vice President Christensen,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Yes.
Director Leather, and President LaHue.
Aye. Okay, well, that
Yes.
ends the business items, and now we're going to convene to a closed session.
Well, there's the,
The,
4.4.
Wait, never mind. 4.4, I forgot. It is odd sometimes to go back, but let me go. I think you had questions.
Just a simple question. I
Yeah.
didn't quite. So there's mention of I don't remember the terminology, but one health plan that everything's based on. I just
Base plan.
base plan, yeah,
The benchmark plan.
benchmark plan. And so is that something that will change year to year, or how's that determined?
Well, the purpose of this item is to actually update that so we do have a clear benchmark plan in the MOU. And so it is possible based on discussions with employee groups or staff that could change, but this is what is represented in the current MOUs.
Okay. And it's good that everyone agreed.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Nope, but now we require a motion since it's off the,
I'll make the motion to
okay,
approve that one.
okay. You got the motion in a second? Okay, roll call, please.
Director Balboni, Vice President Christensen,
Yes.
Director Jaffe,
Aye.
Director Leather, and President LaHue.
Aye. All right, now, I'm sorry I forgot about that.
That's okay.
But, so now we will convene to closed session, and if there's any public comment before the closed session, now would be the time.
Thank you very much, Becky Steinbruner. I am the litigant in some of the cases you'll be discussing tonight. And what I want to say to you tonight is that I really hope you will accept the terms of the settlement. I can't discuss that, but I feel like all parties have been negotiating in good faith, myself included. And I really would like to put this all behind us all. And I think that the final agreement here is fair, reasonable, and will address the needs of the public, transparency, and the effects on the community. So I hope you will accept it in total. And let's start a different chapter. Thank you very much.
So now we will go to closed session. So it'll take a few minutes, yeah. Maybe if you need to take a break for a couple minutes, that'd be fine.
Thank you. share more with you on that.